Good morning, Facebook world. Today is day 62 of 90 of the Team Heart Life Facebook challenge. And this week I'm talking about self-care and the different aspects of self-care. And today I'm talking about emotional self-care. And this is a really big issue both for me and for a lot of people. So I want you to know, I wrote notes. I have lots of notes so that I don't miss anything and I cover what I really want to say about it. So in the discussion of self-care, hi Ruth, good morning. I want to talk about the different aspects of emotional self-care. So the first one is processing our emotions in a healthy way. So there's different parts just to that topic alone. So the first part is mindfulness. So mindfulness is the act of observing our emotions as distinct from being the emotion. So to give you an example, it's like saying, I'm angry. Right? So we say that all the time, right? If we're upset about something, I'm angry, I'm pissed, I'm whatever. I'm sad, but that's identifying with the emotion instead of recognizing it as something distinct and separate from you as an entity. So the right way to verbalize that is to say, I feel angry right now. I feel sad right now. I'm feeling joy and compassion right now. That's the right way to say it, because pretty soon we begin to identify as the emotion and not actually as who we are as a spiritual being. And instead we take on that emotion. We define ourselves as that emotion. And that's not the truth. That's not who we really are. We're experiencing an emotion in the moment. So it's really good to watch how you're speaking, because you're creating that in your life. So, next time something happens, instead of saying I am blank, say I feel blank. I'm feeling this emotion right now. And part of that mindfulness about your emotions is you're not actually ignoring your emotions, right? So when you rephrase things like that, you're not stuffing your emotions down, you're not ignoring your emotions. You are actually just observing those emotions, right? You're watching them, you're observing them, you're experiencing them, and then you're moving on. Whereas when we self-identify with the emotion, we get caught up in it and we can't move on, because we become anger, we become sadness, we become jealousy, we become those things, right? And then next thing you know, we're trapped in this circle of routine and habit, and we can't get out of it. So observe, don't identify. The next thing is learning how to name your emotions. I know that sounds weird, but you got to learn how to name and separate out what your emotions are. So my example for this is there is a big difference between doubt, anxiety, and insecurity. But for some people, they just lump it all together and say it's a negative emotion, right? They don't know how to identify each of those things as a separate thing, or to see how it's reacting in their body as a different thing. And if you pay attention, your body will tell you what emotion you're feeling. Some people, they go into anxiety and immediately their stomach gets tied up in knots. They start sweating. Some people get a pounding headache. Your body will communicate to you what is going on emotionally. So you got to learn how to name the different emotions. And then when you do that, you begin to understand when your body goes into reaction. You can name the emotion faster and faster, because you're you're putting it together. Oh wow, when my hands start sweating and I am getting short of breath, I'm in anxiety. Like that's what's happening. And you can name your emotion and begin to deal with it correctly. Let's see. Acceptance of our emotions. This is the biggest one that everybody gets stuck on. And for a lot of people, it's the missing component in properly dealing with their emotions. So it's about not fighting and resisting the emotion. It's accepting the emotion that it's here, that you're experiencing it, and letting it be felt in your body. And then you can address it, right? But we all have a different emotional, how do I term this? Like an emotional palate, right? So I can deal with being angry. Like I can deal with being angry. I come from an Irish-German Mexican background, and believe me, I have a temper, and I can deal with anger. Like I feel it, I know it, but I have a much harder time dealing with pain. So those are two separate things, right? For some people, they can deal with sadness, but they have a horrible time dealing with joy. They don't know how to deal with joy. They don't know how to express it. They don't know how to feel it. And, so it's vice versa. Everyone's got a different mix emotionally, and you have a different palette emotionally to work from. And so you're going to have things that come natural to you that you instantly recognize, you instantly understand. And then there's the other ones that you struggle to name, you struggle to identify. You're just feeling it, but you can't really quite explain it. Or not even explain it, but you just don't want to feel it. So you just try and shove it down and you try to ignore it, right? But you have to accept the emotion that you're in, or you can't move forward. That's just the way it is. So if you don't want to get emotionally stuck, you have to feel your emotion and you got to accept it. And then you can move on. The last part of that is taking action. Emotional action, right? So you got to take appropriate emotional reaction. And I used to think that was so weird that someone would say, well, are you making an appropriate emotional reaction? And I actually learned this from working as a receptionist in a mental health clinic. And I didn't realize that you could inappropriately respond to emotion. And so learning the appropriate response for the different emotions is a really interesting tool to have and to develop. And, it's kind of like when you see somebody who gets a paper cut and all of a sudden they're raging out over a paper cut, and you're like, chill, dude, like what's going on here? Well, that is an appropriate emotional response to the situation at hand. And so I'm sure everyone has done that at some point. And later you're like, crap, I can't believe I, blew my top because that person asked me how my day was going, or, whatever the case may be. So learning how to appropriately respond to the emotional situation that's going on is a skill, and it's something you should develop for personal emotional self-care. So then we move on to the other aspects. So cultivating your emotional intelligence is part of personal self-care. So this is where you recognize your own emotions, you know how to react to your own emotions, but more importantly, it's the next step because it's learning how to recognize and react to other people's emotions. That's emotional intelligence. And my example for this, which I love, is Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. If anyone watches that, I love that show, by the way. I'm totally addicted to it. But Sheldon Cooper, if you watch from the beginning of the show, he is emotionally his emotional intelligence is completely stunted. He is brilliant, but he doesn't know how to gauge emotion correctly, and he doesn't understand other people's emotions, and he can't read them. You know, one of the things about his character is he goes through the show and people will do something or respond some way, and he'll look at him and go, that's sarcasm, right? Or he'll question if they're being serious, or he won't understand why they're responding in a certain way to something because he thinks it should be so logical. That is lacking in emotional intelligence. So once we've learned how to figure out our own emotions and how to deal with them, the next step in personal self-care, believe it or not, is learning how to deal with everyone around us and their emotional situations, because you are not an island and you have to work with everyone and communicate with everybody, and you need to take care of yourself in those interactions and those communications. So this is my next, it's a really big piece, but learning how to have emotional intelligence is a big, big thing. And if you've been really good at working on your own stuff, maybe it's time for you to focus on how are you dealing with everyone else's emotions. And last but not least, for personal self-care of emotions is having good coping mechanisms for your emotions. And first and foremost, I'd say have a great support network. If you don't have one, go out and develop one. Find the people that you can talk to no matter what is going on with you emotionally, that you can brainstorm with, that you can put things out there, and you're not going to get judged. You're not going to, fall into victimhood by talking to them, that you can, they've got your highest and your best for you when they talk to you. And so really build a support network. That's the first thing I would say to have as a good coping mechanism when you're going through emotional situations. The second thing is find relaxing activities, things that make you relax, make your body relax. You calm yourself down when you're doing them. Be careful though, because there's a difference between a relaxing activity and an avoidance mechanism and a addiction. So, for some people, when they're under really emotional stress, they eat, right? So eating on the whole is not bad for you, but when you're eating to stuff your emotions, that's bad for you. And so learning to do something that's good for you, that makes you feel good and relaxes you, but not have it be an avoidance mechanism, like not playing games on your computer when you should be over here dealing with something. That's avoidance. That's not relaxing to kind of give yourself time to take care of your emotions. That's avoiding what's happening so that you don't have to deal with it. Or an addiction type thing, which is drinking, smoking, drugs, eating food. For some people, believe it or not, it's exercise. Like it can be anything. If you do it to avoid what is going on in your life, that is not what I'm talking about. That is the bad side of it. So watch that, but definitely find something you can do to relax, because that helps with your coping. And exercise, for some people, can really be a way to cope with their emotions. They can go in the gym and they can work it out in the gym. They can work out their emotions in the gym. They can speed walk on the treadmill. They can, do a really fast cycling routine. They can work out what's going on. If they just work out their body, their emotions kind of flow with the pattern, and as they work through it, then their body kind of slows down and they work through. The other thing is problem solve. If it's a really big emotional issue and you can't handle it on your own, go back to that support network and problem solve. Find a way to talk about it and find a resolution for what's going on. Oftentimes you just need another viewpoint to help you find the middle road, to help you find the path through what you're going through, and definitely problem solve, and problem solve with people who've got your back, not people that might later go back and talk about what's going on in your life to somebody else, because that just creates more problems. And last but not least, and totally my favorite, is humor. Humor is my saving grace. It's probably the biggest gift my mother ever gave us as kids, is to learn how to laugh at ourselves and how to laugh at our situations and how to find humor in every aspect of life. And so, definitely probably humor is one of my coping mechanisms. I will definitely find ways to laugh, because laugh, like I said in other videos, is like a stress reliever, and it will help you deal with any emotional issues that are going on. So I hope all of this has been informative for you guys. I hope that something that you heard today you can take away and put in your life to help you have better emotional self-care. So happy day today. Go out there and enjoy the sunshine, drink lots of water, and keep yourself hydrated. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.